Brother, your 808s suck. They bleed into everything else in the mix, and even if you do manage to make them sound decent in your DAW, they sound softer than baby shit on your phone, in your car, and literally anywhere else. And if you're cool with this, then fine. But I think you might be stupid, because why did you click on this video? But if you want to make sure your 808s turn heads no matter where you're mixing them or where they're being played from, then I've got 3 banger tips for you today. You know how it go, gang. Grab the free kits, join the Chord, peep the EPK for the lore, and let's cook.
So tip number 1 is to use parallel processing in a signal flow send to add the perception of width to your 808, which is going to make it more present in the mix. So first, here's the 808 pattern on top of the beat that we have going so far. So the first thing you want to do is create a send from your 808 track. You could do it directly from your 808, but since I have all my bass and sub going into this sub bus, I'm just going to create it off of that. First, we're going to make sure the track we want to parallel process is selected. Then we're going to find a blank track and right click this arrow on it. And then we're going to select route to this track. And then from there, in my workflow, it's as simple as dragging on the stereo send preset from band for band. So here's it with no parallel processing. All right, now I'm getting ready to turn it on. And don't worry, I'm about to show you the presets as well as explain how this works. So basically what we're doing is creating a copy of the 808, EQing out all the low end, and then adding a bunch of effects to the high end to make that treble more present. And that's the sneaky trick for getting the 808 to shine. So first is this neutron send with this equalizer right here. And again, that's just EQing out a lot of that low end bass. And then we have this exciter, which actually adds harmonics and saturation to that high end. And again, the way that works is the equalizer has already taken out those low frequencies. And so we're only saturating the treble. From there, I have this stereo shaper with these settings, and that's just to separate the 808 a little bit more from mono into stereo. And then I have an ozone 9 spectral shaper with these settings here, and that just helps tighten everything up. Tip number 2 is using sidechaining to let your 808 fit better with your bigger drum sounds, like your kick and your main snare or clap. That being said, you might think it only applies when you have a kick, but sidechaining on your main clap or snare could be really helpful, which is why I always send those big drums to this big drum bus, and then I sidechain this to everything else, like the low end, the melody, and the smaller drum sounds. So that being said, I added a kick to this beat. And it's all routed perfectly, but there's no side chaining. But this template from band for band actually has all the signal flows set up already. That being said, let me show you what it would look like to sidechain my big drums to my 808 from scratch. So I'll unroute that from the tonal composition, which has all my sub and 808s. And the first thing I'll do is make sure that drum bus is selected, right click on the tonal composition, and sidechain to this track. Then from there, I would make sure there's a limiter on there, the fruity limiter to be exact, and it's already on there due to the template. And then from there, I open it, and it's gonna be on these default settings, which would be the same if we just opened it up. Then from there, I want to go to the compressor settings, go to this sidechain menu, and select the thing that I want to sidechain to this, which will be the big drum bus. Then from there, we let everything play and we begin to adjust our macros, and I'll talk you through that as we go. So we're playing, and the first thing I'm going to want to do is set ratio, which is going to determine how much gain reduction happens based on the threshold we set. So I'll start with 2, so something light. And then we bring down that release, and that's going to engage that side chaining, and we can even hear it as we go. And so attack controls how quickly it comes on. So the more attack, the more it kind of fades in. The less attack, the shorter and snappier it comes on. I kind of want it to be basically immediate, so I'm just gonna basically put it at 0. And the release controls how much it fades out. So I want kind of like a tight fade out there for sound design purposes. So I want just like less release there. And then threshold controls how much of that gain reduction you're actually getting based on that ratio. And that's just so clean. Let's just do a bypass test. So I'll turn it off right now. And now I'm about to turn it back on. The tightness in the control is just crazy. And I love having that all over my mix, which is why I usually sidechain my kick to the smaller drums and the melody as well. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick. We'll come here to this melody composite and open up this fruity limiter. And I actually have this band for band preset loaded up. So I'll just open up the basic sidechainer. And it's basically just the way we set it up already. It's just loaded, turn down that attack, set the sidechain, and then get to adjusting the macros based on how we want it to affect the melody. Maybe like parallel process that a little bit. That's nice. That's nice. Chef's kiss shit right there. Then we turn everything back on so we can get those smaller drums. And then again, we just need that limiter. And so I'll go ahead and drag it over from band for band. She's sounding crazy, gang. Tip number 3 is taming the power on your 808. And of course, in the context of my mixing method, it would be just that composite, you know, low end bus. That being said, I do want to nerd out for just a couple of seconds about why this is important. 1, you'll be unmasking the 808 from the overall melody, which will allow it to shine more without keeping the low end from shining in the frequencies it's supposed to. And 2, bass already has to be super loud in general because human beings are bad at hearing it, which is why we turn it up so much and why it's helpful to take power out of it for the overall balance of your mix. So that being said, of course, I'm about to drag over a preset from band for band, but don't get it twisted. I'm about to explain it to you right now. So boom, let's let everything play. And we'll drag this tame power preset onto the tonal composition. And you can hear what it already did to that low end. Let's do a quick bypass test. So I'm about to turn it off. And now I'm about to turn it on. Now, I'm sure you noticed that it took out a lot of that low grumble from the 808. And the thing is, a lot of new producers, and I used to make this mistake a lot, assume that that low grumble means your 808 is louder and more powerful. But actually, we already took care of that in parallel processing. So all that low end grumble is doing is forcing a bunch of audio power through the speaker that we can't hear, that will distort the mix, and that overall will overload the machinery, resulting in shittier sounding music. This EQ dip around 200 is really helpful for unmasking it from the melody, and this analog low shelf coming up to around 30 hertz just really helps it take out that grumbly power that really makes it sound like shit coming out of the speakers. And I mean, it's really bad on PA systems. I've been DJing recently, and boy, I'm glad I figured this one out because it has my mixes sounding amazing to the audiences compared to some of my counterparts, if I might say so myself. That being said, you do want to be careful not to take out too much power. It's a matter of taste and practicing it. All right, now let's give a final listen to our hard-ass beat with these perfectly mixed 808s.
Once you lock in with your 808, you might as well fall down the rabbit hole and sauce up your entire mixing method. So peep the video on your screen now if you want me to walk you through a full beat mixing masterclass.